My name is Jason Miller. I'm 38, an accountant in a mid-sized city you've probably flown over without noticing. For most of my 30s, I believed that predictability was the same as security. Numbers balanced, bills paid, calendar synced, life on rails. I've been married to Lauren for 8 years. On paper, it looked like we'd won the game. We had the kind of life people post online with dumb captions like, "My person" or "Best life." I woke up before sunrise, showered, dressed in the same rotation of shirts, kissed my wife on the forehead while she blinked at me from the pillow. She'd mumble, "Text me when you get there," and I always did. Work with spreadsheets, client meetings, and coffee that tasted like burned bark. I come home to dinner on the table, house clean, dishwasher humming, some candle burning that made the place smell like vanilla or forests or whatever Target was selling that week. Lauren would meet me at the door, smile, kiss, ask, "How was your day?" I always said, "Long." And she always said, "I'm glad you're home." Weekends were quiet. Movies on the couch, popcorn in a shared bowl, her feet under my thigh for warmth. We'd half argue about vacations we never took. Beach versus mountains, all-inclusive versus road trip. It was always someday, never now. I didn't push it. Stability felt more important than stamps in a passport. I never checked her phone, never tracked her location. When she said she had errands or a shift at the small office where she did part-time admin work, I believed her without a second thought. If you'd hooked me up to a lie detector and asked, "Do you trust your wife?" I'd have passed with flying colors. I would have sworn under oath that there were no secrets between us. That Thursday afternoon started the same as any other, until it didn't. I left work early with a headache, the kind that sits behind your eyes and makes the screen blur. I drove home in daylight for once, made coffee in my own kitchen while the sun still touched the countertops. The house felt strangely quiet at that hour, like I'd walked onto an empty stage before the show. I sat down on the couch, took one sip, and exhaled. Then the doorbell rang, and my life split cleanly into before and after, even though I didn't know it yet. When I opened the door, I recognized him the way you recognize a street you've driven 1,000 times without ever learning its name. Mid-50s, gray at the temples, still in his store apron with Mike stitched over the chest. Main Street convenience store. I'd bought energy drinks and lottery tickets from this man and never really seen him. "Mr. Miller?" he asked, like he wasn't sure I was the right husband for the job. "Yeah," I said. "What's up?" His eyes flicked past me into the house, then back. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" "It's delicate. It's about your wife." That word, delicate, landed wrong in my chest. My mind sprinted through possibilities. Accident. Illness. Maybe she'd broken something at his store. Normal problems. Fixable ones. I stepped aside. "Come in." We sat in the living room. He perched on the edge of the couch like he was afraid to leave a mark. My coffee went cold on the table between us. "I didn't want to come," he started. "But I figured you'd want to know." "Know what?" My voice was flat, controlled. He took a breath, like he was about to dive underwater. "We've had inventory shrinking for months. At first I thought it was paperwork. Then employees. I checked receipts, schedules, everything." He shook his head. "So I installed new cameras. Higher quality. Different angles." He slid a tablet out of his backpack and set it on the coffee table, screen down. He didn't push it toward me yet. "I'm not calling the police." "Not yet," he said. "But when I saw who it was, and what else was going on, I couldn't just ignore it. Not fair to you." A cold spread in my stomach, slow and deliberate. "Just show me," I said. He flipped the tablet and tapped the screen. Grainy footage filled it. His store, the same aisles I'd walked down half asleep on Monday mornings. And then Lauren walked in. Same coat, same walk, same woman who kissed me goodbye that morning. I watched her move down the aisle, casual, at home. She glanced around once, twice, then slipped a lipstick into her bag with a motion so practiced it almost looked like muscle memory. A chocolate bar next. A small bracelet hanging by the register. No hesitation. No guilt on her face. Just a habit. That's been happening for months. Mike said quietly. Different items. Small stuff. Always her. I didn't answer. I just stared. The footage cut to the parking lot. Lauren walked out, bag on her shoulder, stolen junk sitting inches from her hand. She didn't look shaken. She looked light, relaxed. She walked straight to a dark sedan I didn't recognize. The passenger door opened from the inside. She leaned in, and then she kissed him. Not a peck, not a hello. A full, familiar kiss. Her hand on his face like she'd done it 100 times. His hand slid to her hip like it lived there. Do you know him? Mike asked. No, I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. But I knew one thing at that moment. Staring at that cheap tablet screen with a stranger watching my marriage die beside me. Whatever my life had been that morning, it wasn't real anymore. After Mike left, the house felt wrong. Same walls, same furniture, same faint smell of coffee. But it all sat under a new truth that made everything feel borrowed. He transferred the videos to a USB drive, handed it to me like a weapon I hadn't asked for, then put a hand on my shoulder. A simple, awkward gesture from a man who'd just broken my life in half. I'm sorry, he'd said. Yeah, I answered. Me too. The door closed behind him. Silence. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The files popped up with simple timestamps. No drama. No labels like this is where your marriage ends. Just dates and hours. I hit play. There was Lauren again. Different days. Different outfits. Same routine. Walk in. Circle the aisles. Glance around. Slip something into her bag. Lipstick, snacks, small accessories. Nothing big. Just enough to prove this wasn't a mistake or a one-off impulse. Then the parking lot. The dark sedan. The man I didn't recognize. The kiss. Again. And again. My wife was slotting into his space like she belonged there. I watched the videos 3 times. Not because I didn't believe them, but because my brain was trying to file the reality somewhere it could live without burning everything else down at once. I started rewinding my life instead. The nights she was working late. The sudden insistence on doing errands alone. The new coat she said she got on sale. The times she came home lighter, talkative, almost giddy for no reason. Little things I'd written off because trusting her felt easier than questioning her. I checked the time on my phone. 4:30 p.m. Lauren usually got home around 6. 90 minutes. That's why I had to decide what version of myself would be sitting here when she walked through that door. The weak version, the one who begged, bargained, asked what he had that I didn't. The explosive version, the one who punched walls, screamed, lost the plot and handed her the story. He was crazy, I had to leave. Or a third option, the one I hadn't really met yet. I copied the videos to a folder on my desktop and renamed it Evidence. No jokes, no sarcasm, just a word. I carried the laptop upstairs to our bedroom. Our bed. Our framed wedding photo on the dresser. Us smiling like idiots who thought love was enough. I set the laptop on the bed, opened it, queued up the clip where she stole and then went straight to the car. Paused it right on the kiss. I tried out words in my head. How could you? Who is he? Why didn't you just leave? They all sounded small, like lines from a cheap drama. So I dropped them. I didn't need speeches. I didn't need to perform pain for her. I just needed one thing. To put the truth in front of her and refuse to let her twist it into something softer. By 5:45, my heartbeat had settled into something steady. Not calm exactly, just focused. The man who'd left for work that morning was gone. The one waiting now had one job when she walked in. Look her in the eye, show her the truth, and not let her talk me out of what I already knew. I heard her key in the front door at 5:58 p.m. Jason. Her voice floated up the stairs. Light. Familiar. You home? Yeah. I called back. Up here. Her footsteps climbed the stairs. That same rhythm I'd once found comforting. Today it sounded like someone walking toward a trap they didn't know was set. She came into the bedroom carrying a couple of shopping bags. Smile on, hair up, cheeks a little flushed from the cold. She leaned in to kiss me like nothing in the world was wrong. I turned my head just enough that her lips caught my cheek instead of my mouth. A small move. But I felt the first crack in her confidence as she pulled back, eyes narrowing for half a second. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Long day." She shrugged it off. "Same. I'm disgusting. I need a shower before I even think about dinner." I just nodded. She disappeared into the bathroom. The door clicked. A moment later, the water started running. I sat on the edge of the bed, laptop open in front of me. The video paused on the frame where she's reaching for the shelf in Mike's store. My hands were steady. My breathing is slow. It felt unnatural, like my body hadn't caught up to the fact that my life was on fire. The water shut off. A beat. Then the soft sounds of movement, the rustle of a towel. The door opened. Lauren stepped out wrapped in white, hair damp, humming some song under her breath. She saw me first, then the glow of the laptop screen. Her smile died mid-note. Her eyes dropped to the screen and froze on the image. Herself, in that familiar coat, hand halfway into her bag, security timestamp in the corner. What is that?" she asked, voice already cracking. I didn't answer her question. I asked mine. "Do you have something to confess?" The words landed between us like a hammer. Color drained from her face. "Jason, I don't know what you mean, I turned the laptop toward her and hit play. We watched her steal. We watched her walk out to the parking lot. We watched her open the passenger door of that dark sedan. We watched her kiss the man she'd decided was worth burning our marriage for. She stared at the screen like maybe, if she concentrated hard enough, the woman in the video would turn out to be someone else. But it was her. And I was done pretending I didn't see it. For a long second after the video ended, there was no sound. Then Lauren's legs gave out. She slid down the wall until she hit the carpet, towel cinched tight around her, breathing like the room had lost its air. "Jason, please," she choked out. "I can explain." "You should," I said. My voice surprised me. Steady, almost bored. "Start with stealing or kissing. Dealer's choice." She covered her face with both hands. It's a compulsion. I've been reading about it. Kleptomania. It's an illness, I swear. When I'm anxious, So you steal. I nodded slowly. From small stores. Repeatedly. She looked up at me, eyes red already. "I know it looks bad, but I can get help. I'll go to therapy, And him." I cut in. "What's his diagnosis?" The name came out in a whisper. Eric. I searched my memory. Found him quickly. Eric Thompson. Married. We'd seen him at a couple of events. Firm handshake. Easy smile. The kind of guy you instinctively trust if you're not paying attention. "He's married," I said. Not a question. She nodded, tears spilling. "We just talked at first. I was lonely. You were always working. I felt invisible and there it was. The turn. My hard work. The long days that paid for this house. Being dragged out as supporting evidence for her affair. So this is my fault," I said. "Got it." "No," she sobbed. "I'm not saying that. I made mistakes. I'm sick. I need help. But I love you, Jason. I swear How long?" I asked. She hesitated. That tiny pause hurt more than any answer. "For months," she finally said. "But it didn't mean." "Stop." I held up a hand. She shut up instantly. I looked at her. The towel, the wet hair, the smeared mascara, the whole picture of a woman in crisis. And underneath all that, the simple fact. She did what she did because she wanted to. Repeatedly. "I'm not your therapist," I said. "I'm not in your rehab. I'm the husband you lied to while you were stealing and screwing around in parking lots." She shook her head hard. "Please, don't talk like that. We can fix this, we can." "We?" I stood up. "No. Here's what's going to happen. You're leaving this house tonight." Her mouth fell open. "What?" "Jason, no, please." "You have 1 hour to pack a bag," I said. "Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. I'll handle the rest through them." She crawled toward me on her knees, grabbing at my hand. "Don't do this. Please don't do this. I can change. I'll do anything. I pulled my hand back like she'd burned it. I'm done carrying damage I didn't cause, I said. Get dressed. Start packing. Then I walked past her, out of the bedroom, down the stairs. By the time I hit the front door, I could still hear her sobbing upstairs. Loud, desperate, echoing off the walls. I picked up my keys and left anyway, because staying in that air 1 second longer felt impossible. When I came back that night, the house was dark. Lauren was gone. No car in the driveway. No shoes by the door. Just her key on the kitchen table and an envelope with my name on it. I didn't open it. I dropped it straight into the trash, pressed it down under a takeout box, and took out my phone instead. By noon the next day, I was sitting in a leather chair across from a divorce lawyer who'd seen this story 100 times in different costumes. Middle-aged, calm, no fake sympathy. Just direct questions and a legal pad. Do you have proof of the affair? He asked. I slid the USB drive across his desk. Video, I said. Her shoplifting, then going straight to his car. Kissing him. He plugged it into his computer, watched about 30 seconds, then stopped. That's enough, he said. Documented infidelity. Combined with the theft issue, this will be quick. You keep the house, the cars, most assets. If she's smart, she won't contest. On paper, it sounded like winning. A week later, I knew Eric's full name, address, and marital status. Married. 2 young daughters. White picket fence profile. I sat at my kitchen table one evening, the same spot where Lauren used to scroll her phone and laugh at nothing, and drafted an email to his wife. No commentary. No insults. Just a short line. You deserve to know. And the video files attached. I almost didn't hit send. Not out of mercy. Out of exhaustion. But I did. Word traveled back in fragments. Their marriage blew up. There were fights, lawyers, custody talks. He lost his job, the kind of place that doesn't want parking lot affair and shoplifting scandal attached to their brand. He ended up in a small apartment alone. I waited for the satisfaction to hit. The payoff. The sense of balance was restored. It never really came. Just a dull, empty acknowledgement. Yeah. Now he's standing in the rubble too. Meanwhile, shoplifting spread like oil on water. Mike had been reluctant to go to the police at first, but once he compared notes with other small business owners and realized Lauren had been making a circuit of their stores, things escalated. Reports filed. Footage shared. She didn't end up in prison. This isn't that kind of story. She got a plea deal, restitution, community service, court-ordered therapy. Her name on paperwork as the woman who couldn't stop stealing cheap things and blowing up her life for parking lot kisses. On the surface, it looked like justice. But sitting alone in my quiet house, divorce in motion, bank accounts being divided, schedules being drawn up by strangers, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like standing outside a building I'd lived in for 8 years, watching it collapse in slow motion, knowing I was the one who pulled the fire alarm, and still wishing there'd been nothing to report. The divorce ended in a conference room that looked like every other place I'd ever signed paperwork. Neutral walls, neutral carpet, a long table where lives ended in black ink. Lauren sat on the other side, next to her lawyer. No makeup, hair pulled back. She looked smaller, like someone had turned down the saturation on her. We went through the terms line by line. House mine, cars mine. Savings, mostly mine. No alimony. No fight. She just nodded at everything, eyes fixed on the table. Do you understand and agree? The clerk asked. Yes, she said, voice flat. I signed. So did she. 8 years of marriage reduced to a stack of pages and a bored witness. Walking out of that building alone, I felt not free, not yet. Just lighter in some places and heavier in others. A limp kind of relief, like finishing a surgery you didn't ask for. Life moved on the way it always does when you don't have a choice. I worked. I slept. I went to the gym. I learned the shape of my house without her stuff in it. 9 months passed. Long enough for the raw edges to stop bleeding, not long enough to forget. One Tuesday morning, I stopped at a coffee shop near the office. Normal day, emails already buzzing. Tie a little crooked. The usual. I ordered my drink and stepped aside to wait. I felt eyes on me before I saw her. I glanced to the right. She was in the corner, alone at a small table. Same face, different life. Thinner. Dark circles under her eyes. Clothes that tried to look put together but didn't quite get there. For a second, everything went quiet. Our eyes met. Shock flashed across her face first. Then something softer, hope maybe, regret. Whatever it was, I recognized the look of someone about to stand up and reach for a past they weren't ready to bury. I could see the scene lining up in front of me. She walks over. She says she's sorry again, but this time really sorry. She gives me updates about therapy, about how she's working on herself. Maybe she cries. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she asks if I hate her. Maybe she asks if I'm happy. None of that would change a single thing. The barista called my name. I stepped forward, took the cup, and felt the warmth in my hand. I looked back at her one last time. She was halfway out of her chair, fingers on the table, lips parted like the first word was sitting on her tongue. I turned toward the door and walked out. No nod, no smile, no waves, no scene for the people on their laptops to pretend not to watch. Outside, the air was cold and clean. I took a breath and kept walking, coffee in hand, phone buzzing in my pocket with some client needing numbers. People think closure is some big dramatic moment where both parties cry and forgive each other and walk away lighter. For me, closure was simpler. Seeing the woman who blew my life apart, choosing not to step back into that orbit, and realizing for the first time that I wasn't curious anymore about what she had to say. I didn't move states. I didn't shave my head or quit my job or disappear into some cliché. I just moved across town. 15 minutes away. New street. New walls. New silence. The old house sold fast. Good school district. Nice neighborhood. Charming according to the listing. I signed the papers and watched strangers talk about where they'd put their Christmas tree. I left the keys and walked out without looking back. The new place was smaller, but it was mine from day one. I painted the walls myself, picked colors I actually liked instead of whatever neutral tone we'd agreed on after 3 arguments and a Pinterest board. I bought a couch that was comfortable, not stylish. A bed frame without a headboard she'd once called romantic. The first few nights were loud in a way that had nothing to do with sound. Every creak, every car passing outside, every tick of the clock landed harder in an empty house. I'd fall asleep to the hum of the fridge and my own thoughts replaying old scenes I couldn't change. I joined a gym mostly to have somewhere else to go after work. At first it was just moving weight around to tire myself out. Over time it became something else. A place where effort equals result, no hidden variables, no secret lives. You show up, you work, you get stronger. Simple. Clean. I started answering texts from friends I'd quietly drifted away from during the marriage. Grabbing beers, catching games, letting them talk crap, let them not ask too many questions they knew I didn't want to answer. Dating came later, not because I was ready, whatever that means, but because eventually you get tired of every night ending with you, a TV, and a half-eaten takeout container. The first dates were fine. I smiled, I listened, I asked questions, and every time a woman picked up her phone or went to the bathroom, there was a tight little voice in the back of my head. Check it. See who she's texting. See who she really is. I never did. But the urge was there. That was the scar. Late replies made my stomach knot. Cancelled plans triggered a mental slideshow. Parking lots, sedans, stolen lipstick. I knew it wasn't fair, but knowing and feeling are 2 different things. Every now and then, I'd hear about Lauren. Small town information passed along without much ceremony. She was living with her sister, working temp jobs, doing community service, in therapy for kleptomania, making payments on restitution, walking around with the unofficial title of the cheating thief, whether people said it out loud or not. I didn't gloat. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like checking the weather for a storm that had already passed but still left broken branches everywhere. The point wasn't her anymore. The point was me slowly shifting from the guy whose wife cheated and stole into just Jason again. A man with some hairline cracks, yeah, but still standing, still moving, still building something that this time would be real or it wouldn't be at all. By the time 3 years had passed, the scandal version of my life had gone quiet. No more fresh gossip, no more new fallout, just echoes. People moved on. So did I. On the outside, my life looked simple. I woke up early, hit the gym, went to work, paid bills, argued with contractors about a bathroom reno, texted my girlfriend dumb memes. Nothing anyone would make a movie about. That was the goal. Inside, there were still hairline cracks, but they'd stopped bleeding. I knew where they were. I stopped pretending they weren't there. The woman I was with now, Emma, wasn't my savior or some fairy tale reward for surviving. She was just solid. She had her own history, her own scars, her own life that didn't revolve around me. We met at the gym, shared a squat rack, then a coffee, then enough time that it stopped feeling temporary. I didn't dump my past on her all at once. I didn't hand her the whole ugly story like a test to see if she'd run. For a long while, she only knew the basics. I was divorced. It wasn't pretty. I was still working through it. One night we were at my place, eating takeout off the coffee table, a game on low in the background. She was curled up at the other end of the couch, hair in a messy knot, no makeup, just there, comfortable, real. She took a sip of wine, looked over at me, and asked, "What actually happened with your marriage? You've never really said." Years ago, that question would have triggered a script in my head, the whole timeline, start to finish, every detail like a case file. The doorbell, the tablet, the kiss in the parking lot, the towel on the floor, the lawyers, the revenge. This time, I felt the old story press against my teeth, and I decided how much of it I was willing to let out. "It didn't work out," I said. She lied. I ignored things I shouldn't have. It blew up. We divorced. It was ugly. I learned a lot. That was it. Flat. True. Sanitized. She watched me for a second. Not suspicious, not nosy, just taking my measure. "Okay," she said softly. "If you ever want to tell me more, you can. If you don't, that's your call. I'm not going to dig." Then she changed the subject. Just like that. Later, alone at the sink washing dishes, I realized the difference between then and now. I didn't need her to fully understand what I'd been through in order to feel seen. I understood it. That was enough. Every once in a while, the past still threw out a line. I'd get an email from HR about updating emergency contacts and see Lauren's name faded in my memory, replaced years ago but still faintly there. Or I'd bump into someone from before who'd say, "Man, I heard about what happened, that was rough." Like it was a war I'd fought in a different country. Sometimes a part of me wanted to correct them, to lay it all out so they'd know just how bad it really was. Mostly, I didn't bother. Let them have the headline. The details were mine. I thought about that question I'd asked Lauren in the bedroom. "Do you have something to confess?" Back then, I'd thrown it like a grenade. It broke everything open. It exposed her, torched our marriage, wrecked her life, hit collateral targets I'd never even met. For a long time, I saw that moment only as the start of the collapse. Now, with distance, I could see the other side. It was also the moment I stopped outsourcing my reality. I stopped letting someone else's version of the story stand in for mine. I don't pretend I'm immune to betrayal now. That's not how this works. I know too well that anyone can lie, cheat, or implode, no matter how good the photos look. But here's what changed. I trust myself more than I trust comfort. If something feels off, I don't talk myself out of it just because I want the relationship to stay pretty. If someone's words and actions don't line up, I believe the actions. If I catch myself reaching for denial because the truth will hurt, I recognize that as a red flag in me, not a sign I should try harder to be understanding. Emma doesn't get the raw footage. She gets the man shaped by it. The man who knows he can survive having his life blown apart. The man who knows he can walk out of a coffee shop instead of back into a fire. The man who won't carry someone else's chaos just because they ask nicely or cry hard. Sometimes, late at night, the old scenes still flicker. Grainy security footage in my head. I let them play for a second, then hit my own internal stop button. That story forged me. It doesn't own me. I don't live there anymore.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, The next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.